0541 local time. The sea is mirror smooth. Visibility stretches clean and uninterrupted. The carrier strike group moves at a steady pace, ships in standard formation, posture routine, everything exactly as it should be. No alarms, no sharp commands. Only the muted thrum of machinery and the steady cadence of watch changes. Then one tone slips through the Combat Information Center. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is simply different. A radar operator leans toward the screen, eyes fixed on the return. One contact, high altitude, extreme range, no transponder signal, no civilian signature, no friendly identification. And what stands out first is not speed, but consistency. The contact is not moving fast. It is moving with precision. Its speed never wavers. At that altitude, most aircraft show small corrections, throttle shifts, minor drift, tiny course adjustments as they compensate for conditions. This one shows none of that. Its velocity line remains smooth, level, unbroken. The operator marks it by hand, unknown, priority track assigned. Up on the bridge, the scene remains unchanged. The carrier stays on course, its wake is undisturbed. The flight deck continues in routine motion, yellow shirts guiding normal operations, unaware that something has appeared hundreds of miles away. Inside CIC, the data begins to build, altitude far above commercial traffic. Heading converging, not directly at the group, but clearly with purpose. Emissions minimal, disciplined, no radio traffic, no identification request, no response to automated hails. This is not an aircraft that drifted into the wrong patch of sky. This is silence by design. The tactical action officer does not offer theories. He does not need to. One gesture sends the track across more consoles. Sensors begin to concentrate. Passive systems take priority. Infrared delivers the first surprise. The thermal signature is wrong. Too stable, too uniform. No surge pattern associated with a conventional turbine engine. No heat spikes during small corrections. Whatever is driving that airframe is not behaving like a standard jet. The room grows quieter. A junior analyst starts to speak, then stops. A senior watch officer answers the moment instead. Maintain passive. No active illumination, no radar lock, no challenge. Just observe. At 0544, the contact changes altitude slightly. A shallow descent, barely noticeable, but deliberate. Its heading tightens by a few degrees, aligning more closely with the projected path of the carrier group. The distance is still considerable, but the geometry has shifted. A surface warfare coordinator notes the change and timestamps it. Every movement is recorded, every bearing shift logged. This is not about reacting yet, it is about understanding the pattern. On the bridge, the captain steps nearer the windows, hands clasped behind his back. He asks nothing. He has already been updated. He watches the horizon, though there is still nothing visible. Not yet. At 0547, the Combat Air Patrol is adjusted. Not launched, not escalated, simply repositioned. Fight is already in the air, slide outward with the ease of crews who have done this countless times before. Still no alarms, still no shipwide announcement. That restraint matters because at 0549, the contact does something new. It keeps its altitude while changing vector again. This time the move is sharper, not a turn away, not a casual pass. A deliberate alignment that places its projected path into a future intercept window, not immediately. Later. Inside CIC, one phrase moves quietly from station to station. Energy source remains stable. No degradation, no thermal drop, no lag in response. That narrows the possibilities quickly. No one says more than they need to. No one has to. Everyone in the room understands. This platform did not come here to sprint. It did not come here to strike. It came here to be observed. At 0552, the track is reclassified. Probable strategic platform. Origin assessed. Confidence moderate, increasing. Still no public announcement. Still no change in shipwide status. The carrier strike group continues ahead, steel and discipline moving through calm water as though the sky above holds nothing unusual at all. But inside the Combat Information Center, every display is now centered on a single moving line. Unknown, unannounced, impossible to ignore, and getting closer. 0553 local time. The contact holds altitude. That fact alone is enough to command attention. At this distance, most aircraft would climb or descend, testing reactions, probing boundaries, searching for a response. This one does neither. It keeps a steady profile, neither withdrawing nor rushing forward. A choice made on purpose. In CIC, the range rings continue to tighten. Numbers update in calm, exact increments. Each refresh confirms the same truth. The distance is closing. Not quickly, not slowly, deliberately. One watch officer marks the time, another updates the geometry. The projected intercept window moves forward by minutes, not seconds. This is not haste, it is control, it is patience. On the bridge, the carrier stays on course. No rudder shift, no visible reaction. The ocean remains almost misleadingly calm, sunlight flashing off the bow as though nothing at all has changed. But above the water, the picture is tightening. At 0556, the contact makes a slight speed adjustment. So small it would barely stand out to the eye, yet tactically it matters. The change draws it closer to the carrier group's forward arc, where response time shortens and available options begin to narrow. Still no radio traffic, still no transponder. The silence is not absence, it is part of the signal. Inside CIC, the tactical action officer recites the rules of engagement out loud, not as a warning, as confirmation. No one cuts in, no one needs the explanation. Everyone already knows the language. No targeting radar, no illumination, no escalation. The objective is clarity, not confrontation. Combat Air Patrol shifts once more, widening its bracket. To an outside observer, the movement would look ordinary, almost relaxed. To trained eyes, the geometry says everything. Coverage is being layered carefully, without drawing attention. No afterburners, no abrupt turns, nothing that could be read as provocative. At 0559, passive sensors catch a subtle change. Not a lock, not an immediate threat. Activity, a faint emission, low power, narrow band. Enough to suggest awareness. Enough to confirm that the aircraft knows exactly where it is and exactly what it is approaching. The room does not become tense, it becomes sharper. Analysts record the frequency, waveform, and duration. Data slips quietly into storage, time-stamped and exact. Whatever this platform is doing, it is revealing itself one layer at a time, simply by staying near. At 0602, the contact descends again. A measured step downward, bringing it closer to the range where visual identification becomes possible. Still distant, still safe, but no longer abstract. It is no longer just a mark on a display, it is becoming a presence. On the flight deck, operations continue without interruption. Aircraft are positioned. Deck crews move with the efficiency that comes from repetition and discipline. No one runs, no one shouts. That composure is deliberate. Panic creates mistakes. Calm prevents them. Inside CIC, one senior officer finally breaks the silence. They're lining up. Not alarm, just fact. The projected path of the aircraft now cuts into the outer response envelope. If it stays on this vector, the next stage begins. Not because anyone wants it to, but because procedure and physics leave little room for anything else. At 0605, a NATO fighter crew reports that visual conditions are excellent. The sun angle is favorable. If identification becomes necessary, it will be clear and undeniable. Even then, no one rushes to force the moment. The carrier strike group holds its course because the burden of escalation belongs to the side that crosses the line. At 0607, the distance closes enough that timing starts to matter. Now it is measured in minutes, not tens of minutes. The contact remains steady, disciplined, almost indifferent. Then a final notation appears on the main display. Approach appears intentional, no avoidance behavior observed. That is the point where the atmosphere changes, not outwardly, but inside the room. This is no longer an uncertain transit, it is a decision, a test. The captain's voice comes over the internal circuit, calm and even. Maintain posture, continue tracking. No threat, no challenge, just confidence. Because if this platform wants to be seen, it will be seen, and if it chooses to come closer, the next response will not need words. The distance keeps shrinking, and with it, the margin for error. 0608 local time. The first active signal appears without warning. Not loud, not overtly aggressive, but unmistakably deliberate. In the Combat Information Center, a passive sensor operator looks up from his console and speaks only once. New emission detected. No one asks him to repeat it. The signal is not a weapons lock. It is not fire control radar. It is something more measured and, in its own way, more serious. A controlled directional sweep. Focused. Intentional. Only enough power to confirm awareness without forcing an automatic response. Somewhere in that cockpit, a choice has been made. The room tightens, not with fear, but with precision. Classify, the tactical action officer says. The frequency is isolated. The waveform is compared. Analysts run it against known libraries in seconds. The result is not absolute, but it is close enough to matter. This aircraft is no longer simply flying near the carrier group, it is interacting. At 0609, the carrier's internal status shifts. Condition 3. No alarms ring through the passageways. No announcement rolls across the ship. But every critical position is now occupied. Every system now has a person behind it. This is the boundary between routine vigilance and full preparedness. On the bridge, the captain does not move. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. The ship remains steady. Its wake remains clean. Below, in CIC, the displays fill with geometry. Concentric rings, intercept arcs, timelines shrinking from broad estimates into immediate minutes. The aircraft continues inbound. At 0611, Combat Air Patrol reports visual acquisition. The contact is no longer just a track on a screen. Now it is visible. A solid airframe set against open blue sky, large, built with purpose. No civilian markings, no attempt to disguise what it is. Its silhouette is sharp, unmistakable. Still no radio call, still no acknowledgement. That silence is not carelessness, it is intention. At 0613, the aircraft changes altitude again, this time climbing slightly, just enough to improve its sensor position, gaining a cleaner line of sight while staying outside the most sensitive engagement boundaries. It is moving with precision, threading the gap exactly where it wants to be. Inside CIC, a senior watch officer says something under his breath, barely above a whisper. They know exactly where the line is, and they're walking it. At 0614, a second emission pulse appears. Brief, narrow, gone almost instantly, but the information is already captured. Every fraction of a second is recorded, analyzed, stored. From the Navy's point of view, this is valuable. From the aircraft's point of view, it is a message. We see you. We are close. We are not intimidated. And still, neither side moves to escalate. No radar lock, no warning tone. No missiles preparing on rails. Because escalation rarely begins with weapons, it begins with mistakes. At 0616, the aircraft settles into position relative to the carrier group's projected track, matching speed changes with unsettling accuracy. The geometry is flawless, too flawless to be coincidence. This is not a simple pass. This is a standoff expressed in vectors, timing, and control. On the flight deck, sailors glance upward, hands raised against the glare. They cannot see what CIC sees. They cannot hear the stream of data moving through headsets and consoles. But they can feel that something has changed. Ships have a mood, and this one has shifted. Still calm, still disciplined, but unmistakably alert. At 0617, the moment reaches a decision point. If the aircraft closes any farther on its current path, standard procedure will require the next step. Not because of aggression, but because of distance. Safety margins exist for a reason, and those margins are shrinking quickly. Everyone in CIC understands it. Everyone on the bridge can feel it. The captain speaks again at last. Hold course, no change. It is quiet, but it carries weight, a signal of confidence, a refusal to flinch. At 0619, the aircraft's vector stabilizes. No closer, no farther. It simply holds there, balanced on the edge between engagement and restraint. 5 seconds, 10. Then slowly and deliberately, the nose shifts. Not away, but slightly off axis. A few degrees, just enough to break the geometry. Just enough to step back from the line without openly retreating. Inside CIC, no one relaxes. Not yet, because the moment is not fully over, even if the message already is. This was the nearest point, the sharpest edge, and everyone involved knows how little separated this encounter from becoming something very different. 0620 local time. Nothing detonates. No alarm sound, no missiles leave their rails, no aircraft break formation. Instead, something quieter takes place. On the main tactical display, the aircraft's vector changes again, and this time the shift is decisive, not a sudden turn. Not a retreat, a controlled realignment that removes the projected intercept point altogether. It is subtle, but it is final. Inside the Combat Information Center, the geometry redraws itself. The converging lines level out. The countdown that never reached zero simply disappears. One watch officer records the time. Intercept window closed. That is all he says. The carrier strike group never changed course, never surged speed, never broadcast distress. Its response happened without movement, without noise, without force. And that is exactly what matters. At 0621, the aircraft maintains its new heading, moving parallel to the carrier group at a safe and gradually widening distance. Altitude remains stable. Power signature remains unchanged. But the intent is different now. It is no longer pressing. It is observing. Inside CIC, the flow of data continues uninterrupted. Every emission, every thermal variation, every minute correction is collected and cataloged. The platform may have eased away from escalation, but it has already revealed more than it likely intended. This is the exchange no one on the outside sees. Pressure traded for information. Proximity traded for clarity. At 0623, Combat Air Patrol holds position, but does not move forward. No pursuit, no challenge. The fighters remain where they are, quiet guardians against an open sky. The message is understood by both sides. This ends here, unless someone decides otherwise. On the bridge, the captain finally eases his stance, only slightly. He does not smile. He does not offer commentary. He does not need to. He simply turns and walks back toward the center line, his eyes still fixed on the horizon. Because restraint only works when it appears effortless. At 0625, the aircraft begins to widen laterally. The range starts opening slowly and deliberately. It remains visible, still unmistakable, but it is no longer pressing itself into the carrier group's path. No radio traffic passes between them. None is necessary. This was never about conversation. At 0627, the senior intelligence officer in CIC speaks in a low voice, almost as if he is saying it only to himself. Message received. Not triumph, not defeat, understanding. The aircraft stays nearby for several more minutes, holding a steady course as if making sure the outcome is perfectly clear. Then at 0629, it begins a gradual climb, returning to higher altitude where the air thins and the tension begins to fall away. The carrier group continues forward, unchanged. Steel through water, discipline through uncertainty. By 0631, the distance has opened enough for the encounter to shift from immediate concern to recorded history. Something to be reviewed, analyzed, broken apart in detail, but not feared. No weapons moved beyond readiness, no warnings were broadcast, no headlines appeared in real time, and still, something important has happened. Two advanced military forces met at the edge of escalation and chose control over disorder. Not because of diplomacy, not because of fear, because both sides understood exactly what would come next if they failed to. The most dangerous moment passed without spectacle. That is exactly why it matters. 0632 local time. The contact continues along its new heading, climbing slowly and deliberately until it becomes just another track near the edge of the scope. Still monitored, still logged, but no longer central to immediate decisions. The carrier strike group never deviates. Speed remains steady, formation holds. Mission posture appears unchanged from the outside. To anyone looking in, it would seem as if nothing happened. Inside the Combat Information Center, the real work is only beginning. Data streams are secured, timestamps are verified, sensor logs are cross-checked. Every second of the encounter is preserved in raw form before interpretation begins. This is not about narrative, it is about facts. Clean, precise, defensible. Analysts replay the sequence in silence. Initial detection, stable energy profile, intentional vector alignment, active emissions, proximity management, disengagement. No speculation, no dramatics, only sequence and consequence. One conclusion forms quickly and without much disagreement. This was not a strike attempt. It was a test. The platform never displayed behavior consistent with immediate strike preparation. No fire control lock, no weapons queuing, no terminal maneuvering. What it did instead was probe, measuring reaction time, sensor posture, and command discipline under pressure. And in doing so, it revealed more than it likely meant to. Thermal signatures were captured across multiple bands. Emission patterns were logged and correlated. Flight behavior under close pressure conditions was recorded in full resolution. Every adjustment, every pause, every decision, all of it is now part of a permanent record. That record matters because encounters like this are rarely isolated. They are rehearsals without applause, signals without speeches, boundaries tested quietly so they can be remembered later. On the bridge, the captain receives one final update. He nods once. That is the end of it. No speech to the crew, no shipwide message. Professionalism does not need ceremony. The ship continues on. At 0645, the contact is formally downgraded. Tracking priority is reduced. Passive monitoring only. The sky becomes just sky again. Flight operations continue on schedule. Aircraft recover. Deck crews reset. Watches rotate. Coffee is poured. The rhythms of life at sea return, steady and familiar. But beneath that normal rhythm, something has changed. The line has been drawn. Not with missiles, not with threats, with restraint carried out flawlessly. Later, in quiet rooms deep inside the ship, officers will go over the encounter in technical language stripped of emotion. They will talk about geometry, emissions, timing, about how close becomes too close, and how discipline keeps accidents from turning into incidents. One sentence will appear in the internal summary. Escalation was avoided through posture control. It will never become a headline. It will never trend. But it will be understood by the people who matter, because what did not happen out there is more important than what did. No shots fired. No lives placed at unnecessary risk, no misunderstanding allowed to spiral. As the carrier strike group fades beyond the horizon, steel parting the sea with calm, unshaken purpose, the lesson remains. Presence does not equal provocation, silence does not mean weakness, and restraint, when supported by real capability, carries more weight than force ever can. Out here, beneath an open sky and across an empty ocean, the most dangerous moments are often the quietest.